네, 홈스와 캡틴 오리마. 윈두 윈두, 게루, 누르, 드도르핀. 네, 네블리.
He crashed his ship again? I'm definitely blaming the writers for this one because there's no way Olimar's this bad of a pilot. For the first time in a Pikmin game, you get to create and play as your own custom character. The customization isn't that broad, but for what it is, it's cool. Just be careful which color spacesuit you wear because whichever color you choose, the rest of the rescue corps wear too. So don't just pick the color that looks good on only your character. I would know as I picked pink the first time and had to suffer through hours of everyone else wearing pink until I could change it back to red. By the way, in case any of you are wondering, this is my character. I named her Tina. Yes, it's literally just a default character setting save for a different hairstyle. I'm so creative, I know.
Aw, it's a puppy!
It's tutorial time, and we're batting 5 for 5 with this one. It's a bit long for story reasons, but it's still effective in teaching you what you need to know. Fun fact regarding the graphics of Pikmin 4, this is one of only 2 Switch exclusives to utilize Unreal Engine. The other one being Yoshi's Crafted World. And they seriously need to use it more often because this game is gorgeous! The sheer amount of detail, the vibrance in the colors, the shockingly smooth performance, the water, my goodness, the water. This whole game is pure eye candy. Granted, it isn't perfect, the load times can be a little long, and there is some pixelation on the character models, but other than that, Pikmin 4 is not only the current best-looking Pikmin game, but in my opinion, the best-looking Switch game. Move over Luigi's Mansion 3 and Xenoblade 3, Pikmin 4's got both of you beats. Okay, time to talk about the signature Pikmin. We got returning types and 2 new types. Which ones did they decide to bring back? No, I'm not joking. Every single Pikmin type ever introduced in the series prior returns in Pikmin 4. Reds, blues, yellows, whites, purples, rocks, and wingeds, they're all here. And surprisingly, they managed to balance out all of them. Reds, blues, and yellows are the same as before. Whites retain their traits from Pikmin 2, although I think their speed when carrying treasure was nerfed. Rocks and wingeds remain as cool as ever. And purples are finally good! Not only do you not get them until much later in the game, and in small amounts, but their damage output was slightly nerfed when latching onto enemies, and their stun was removed. They're still the best fighters and retain their strength and movement speed, but with these new balances, they're no longer invalidating every other type. As for the new types, the first one is the Ice Pikmin. These guys can freeze bodies of water as long as you have the required amount of them, and they can temporarily freeze enemies after doing enough damage, essentially acting as a less broken version of the Purple Spray from Pikmin 2. They're a cool addition to the Pikmin roster, and they don't invalidate the blues either, as you'll still need them for treasures and enemies below the surface. Oh, and we'll talk about the other new type a bit later. Right now, though, we're going to talk more in depth about our other new addition to the Pikmin formula, the Rescue Pup and my adorable son, Oatchi. This big old puppy can carry objects, help attack enemies, serve as a flotation device across bodies of water, and dig up buried treasures. You can also upgrade his stats to make him even better, such as giving him more attack power, letting him carry heavier objects, giving him the stun the purples have when charging, and letting him swim faster. That may sound like Oatchi would kinda invalidate some of the Pikmin types, but it takes a while before you can get him to broken status. Plus, even with the upgrades, he can't do everything, so you will need to use the Pikmin to carry out most of the tasks. Not to mention, look at him! I couldn't badmouth him with a gun to my head. I just want to cuddle with him all day. So our main objective this time is to rescue Olimar, the rescue corps members that got stranded after the crash, and any additional castaways that ended up here after receiving Olimar's SOS. You know, this is a pretty dangerous planet to be stranded on without any help. I better save them all as quickly as I can. How many days do I have to do so? Wait, what? I have as much time as I want to save them? There's no urgency whatsoever despite being on a rescue mission on a hostile alien planet?
Oh, come on!
What is it with every Pikmin game past the first one and their blatant refusal to instill any sense of tension outside of very specific instances? First it was Pikmin 2 with its complete lack of a time limit, then it was Pikmin 3's attempt at providing tension with the juice system, only for it to be too generous with it, then it was Hey Pikmin being a completely different type of game, so that time was forgivable at least to me, and now we've looped back around to Pikmin 4 having no time limit whatsoever. I said it in E-Raw Pikmin 2, and I'll say it again here. If you could spend as many days as you want searching for castaways, why bother with the day system? There's no point to the days counting down if you have an endless amount of them to waste. And to anyone who says, well, you still have a limited amount of time each day to do what you need to do, so there's still some urgency, that's not a valid retort. It doesn't matter that you can only do so much in a single day, because whatever you don't do that day, you can always do the next day with no repercussions at all. There's no point to having a limited amount of time each day if you have unlimited days to spend. It's basically the same as having unlimited time per day, just with extra steps. But that's just one of our main objectives. Our other main objective is to collect treasures laced with sparklium to use as fuel for our ship. Just like in Hey Pikmin, which means that game is canon. Suck on that, Hey Pikmin haters! You know those people are just gonna pretend sparklium was introduced in Pikmin 4, right? Damn it! Well, you will acknowledge the 3DS game eventually. Anyways, the creativity with these treasures just keeps coming back for these games. You can find returning treasures, namely the fruit from Pikmin 3, and brand new treasures, which can range from entirely new items to references to Nintendo's old and current history. Plus, the names for these treasures get better and better, like naming an eclair a sweet torrent, naming a padlock a secured satchel, naming a GameCube controller a winged freedom sculpture, and my personal favorite, naming a toy skateboard a personal injury plank. And I thought the work-life imbalancer was getting a little too real. Alright, enough stalling. Time to experience the caves. I'm really hoping they were fixed. Let's go. Oh no. Oh no. They're basically the same as in Pikmin 2. They didn't learn a damn thing! Okay, that's a little harsh. To be fair, they did attempt to fix some things about the caves. However, only a select few are actual improvements, while the rest are little more than band-aids on a shark bite. Even though I had heard that the caves were improved from this, I feel like enough of the problems I had with the caves in Pikmin 2 still persist in Pikmin 4, to the point where they're not really better, just less bad. As always, I do want to give credit where credit is due, even with the media I hate. So I'll go over the few things that are good about them before I tear into them once again. So off the bat, one improvement is that every cave has definitive level design. The rooms, enemies, and treasures are no longer randomly generated. They stay in the same spots no matter what, which is good. Another improvement is that they dial back the falling rocks and enemies to an extreme degree. There are still a handful of caves that do have falling rocks and enemies, but they're both few and far between, and in very specific instances. Plus, the enemies that do fall from the sky are either dwarf bulborbs or dweebles, so you don't have to worry about getting murked by a bull bear or anything. Unfortunately, that's where all my positives end for the caves. Now on to the things they either didn't bother to fix, or didn't try hard enough to fix. First of all, the caves are still not that visually appealing. Once again, more than half of them are just dank and dirty brown walls. They may not be as ugly as in Pikmin 2 thanks to the improved technology, but I still don't like the look of them that much. As for the other themes, the rusty levels are back, and they're the same as the brown walls, just slightly less ugly. There's like 3 shower room floors in the whole game. The playrooms are back, and they are still cute, but still suffer from having daylight in them when they shouldn't. Garden levels and snow levels are completely gone, and the only brand new theme is the one based on those touch pools you'd see in an aquarium, which is so creative and fun and looks amazing. Why does it only show it twice? The second problem is their attempt at rectifying time freezing in Pikmin 2. Now whenever you enter a cave, time does continue passing, just at 1/6 the amount it does when above ground. They at least acknowledge it in-game this time, but there's still no good reason for it, nor do they try to provide one. And like I said, this isn't a solution. You're still encouraged to take as much time as you want while down here, and any time you might lose while in the caves is little more than a drop in the ocean. What's more, the day can't even end while you're in a cave, further proving why this solution doesn't really solve anything. My final problem with the caves is actually something that's entirely Pikmin 4's fault. Remember how the only praise I gave Pikmin 2's caves was that each cave had a boss at the end that rewards you with an upgrade for Olimar and Louie? Yeah, well, Pikmin 4 only has bosses for specific caves rather than all of them. And even then, none of them give you upgrades since they're reserved for elsewhere that I'll talk about in a bit. They literally broke what didn't need fixing. Great job, guys. Though, speaking of the bosses, I would like to mention a new iteration of the BD Longlegs. What they do this time? They turn it into a disco ball. It even has air horns and plays funky music. That's actually kind of funny. Going back above ground, I guess I should talk about the areas. With the exception of Hey Pikmin's 8, Pikmin 4 has the most areas in a Pikmin game, that being 6, and they're all completely original. The Sun-Speckled Terrace is your typical garden area, the Blossoming Arcadia takes place under this beautiful cherry blossom tree, the Serene Shores is a beach theme that features a rather creative tide-changing mechanic, which is the one part of this game that actually uses time passage well, the Hero's Hideaway is a literal house that's weirdly well kept since PNF 404 is a post-apocalyptic Earth, the Giant's Hearth is a backyard grill, and the Primordial Thicket is the fall level. Good areas all around, if a little too big at times. So Pikmin 4 makes some rather interesting changes to the usual Pikmin formula. To start off, you only get to use a maximum of 20 Pikmin at the start and need to collect Flarlek, yes that's exactly what you think it is, in order to use any more. You can also only use 3 types of Pikmin at once and in the overworld, which would be a neat way to force you to strategize if there wasn't a button that automatically shows you the 3 types you need. What's more, every Pikmin type has their own onion, and you need to carry it back to the main onion before it can be fused. There's also a rewind time mechanic that's exactly what it says it is, and littered around caves and the overworld are piles of raw material that can be used to purchase upgrades and or build structures that make traversal easier. At first, I was a little hesitant about these changes, but I've grown to appreciate them over the course of my playthrough. They can make the early game a bit more challenging and harder parts of the game easier. Over the course of the game, you'll come across this weirdly familiar leafy individual with a dog akin to yours, and he'll almost always have a castaway that he'll Pikminify by shoving through the onion. Yeah, they actually expanded upon Olimar becoming a Pikmin in the bad ending of Pikmin 1. Then they'll challenge you to a Dandori battle, which is both the 2-player versus mode and Pikmin's take on a rival fight. The goal is to get as many points as possible by bringing enemies, pellets, and treasures back to your onion, while also sabotaging your opponent as much as possible by either assaulting them with items or just stealing their treasures. These battles can get quite intense, especially when going for a platinum medal, and I had quite a bit of fun tackling these. It's also cool that the multiplayer mode is more than just the multiplayer mode. Also scattered across the areas are already Pikminified castaways dubbed Leaflings. These guys will challenge you to Dandori challenges, which are basically the same as the Dandori battles, just without a second player or CPU to fight against. While some are incredibly difficult to platinum without a guide, I appreciate these challenges for what they are. And after you beat either one of those, you get to take the castaway back to base to find a way to cure them. How do you cure them? With the new Glow Sap. How do you get Glow Sap? By going out at night. That's right, you can now go out into the field at nighttime, which every other Pikmin game prevented you from doing because it was too dangerous. And honestly, they were right. During these night expeditions, you have to protect a special mound called a luminol from the nocturnal creatures, which are now way more aggressive than during the day. If the luminol is still standing, either by the time the sun rises or you kill every enemy, you get Glow Sap. There are even certain night expeditions that make you protect 2 of these things, forcing you to separate from Oatchi for effective protection. I love these as they're intense as all hell with how many creatures are attacking at once and that freaky music that gets more and more anxiety inducing as the creatures close in. While on the subject of the night expeditions, this is where you're introduced to the other new type of Pikmin, the Glow Pikmin, which I get the feeling are the souls of all the Pikmin I've accidentally killed while playing these games. These guys are immune to literally every element, need a Mario Galaxy crystals to reproduce, and turn into a DBZ Spirit Bomb when charging. Plus, for every 5 of them that spawn during the night, you get a glow seed that spawns 1 of them if you need it, but they're only usable at night and in the caves. Another great addition to the Pikmin roster. One last thing about the night expeditions. During the last few of them, one very special enemy makes his ceremonious return. And I think a few of you are about to get PTSD from it. The Smoky Prog is back from Pikmin 1. I actually didn't talk about this thing previously because I missed my chance to encounter it, but now that I have, I gotta say, this monster is terrifying. Its upgraded look along with how dangerous it is makes it a real terror to take down. And you better hope you have enough Pikmin by your side because you're almost guaranteed to lose at least a few to it. Instead of doing the same menus from the previous games, Pikmin 4 opts for a hub world this time. Time doesn't pass here, so you can take your time talking to your fellow rescue officers and castaways, grow some extra Pikmin, and take on side quests. Even the Piklopedia is available here with notes from these new guys that are fine, but you do unlock Olimar's notes later. I was initially skeptical of this hub world since it was so empty, but once it got filled up with more castaways, I really began to appreciate it more. Oh hey, there's a cave surrounded by water. Guess I can only take blues in. Wait a minute. Engulfed Castle? I know those rollers. No way. No f***ing way. Oh man, the water wraith is back? Oh, no how since it was killed in Pikmin 2, but okay, I know the drill. I better hustle as fast as I can down these very familiar looking hallways laid out in a very familiar fashion, accompanied by a very familiar Mew. Hey, wait a minute! They just took the submerged castle from Pikmin 2 and plopped it into Pikmin 4! Everything about this cave is literally the exact same as the submerged castle, just with a remixed chase theme. Oh no, it's not the submerged castle, this is the engulfed castle! That's totally different! Those are synonyms. Don't get me wrong, it does still have some tension from before, but if you're gonna bring back something as iconic as the water wraith, I do expect something a bit more creative than just doing the submerged castle again, just with a different name and music. No. Well, hey! Come on. Let me guess, it's Olimar.
2 hours later.
Called it! Yeah, you can't tell me that anyone at least somewhat familiar with Pikmin went into this not knowing that this was Olimar. I mean, it was obvious from the trailers and even more obvious when actually playing the game. In fact, how did the rescue corps not immediately know it was him? They have pictures of Olimar in his voyage log, and they know he had a big green dog with him while he was stranded. Yeah, he's a leafling and covered in red leaves, but unlike the other leaflings, his big nose still stands out and is wearing his signature spacesuit. The rescue corps are pretty stupid for not figuring this one out sooner. Anyways, after you save and cure him, you unlock Olimar's Tale. It's a new mode that recreates the events of Pikmin 1, just with the amount of days sliced in half. This is a fun taste of classic Pikmin action, even if it does mess with the continuity, which we'll touch on more later. And once you complete that, you unlock the Trial of the Sage Leaf, a 10-story cave that is absolutely brutal, and not in a good way either. All of these floors push your Dandori skills to the absolute limit, and attempting any of the floors without all your upgrades will result in failure. And even then, I had to resort to having a guide on standby just to beat these floors, let alone getting a good medal on them. Yeah, the rewards of the white and purple onions are cool, but if all your upgrades and a guide are necessary just to beat this cave, it stops being the fun kind of challenging and becomes the frustrating kind of challenging. Okay, I think it's time to get my second biggest problem with Pikmin 4 out of the way right now. Pikmin 4 is too damn long. Here's how the game is structured. You go through the tutorial in 4 areas of the game, saving everyone you can and Olimar. Standard stuff for a Pikmin game. In fact, I anticipated the ending after the hero's hideaway, so I went back and completed the other 3 areas before saving Olimar.
But wait! There's more!
Turns out, during our rescue mission, Oatchi, my beloved son who will not receive any slander from anyone, was infected by the Pikmin and can't leave the planet. So we go back to try to find a castaway named Nell, who's a veterinarian, but wait! It also turns out that the president of Hakase Freight sent Louie to find Olimar, and in typical Louie fashion, he captured Nell and her comrades York and Don Bergman for no apparent reason and won't let them go until you beat the shit out of him. And all of that is just on a casual run. For completionists, you gotta fill out the Picklepedia, collect every onion, flowerlick, and treasure, unlock every upgrade for your character and skill for Oatchi, save every castaway, cure every leafling, get a platinum medal in every Dandori battle and challenge, and complete every single side mission, with the exception of the bloom a bunch of Pikmin flowers and grow the Pikmin population missions, because those two continue to loot no matter how many times you complete them. If you're a speedrunner who knows Pikmin inside and out, this process will take you around 20 hours. If you're a casual completionist, it'll take around twice that. And for me, it took 50 hours! Yeah, there were times when I let the game running, but even if you want to shave off an hour and a half, that's still way too much time for a Pikmin game. I know someone's gonna argue that Pikmin 4 isn't that long if you're just doing a casual playthrough, but I have 3 things to say about that. 1, you guys know my rules for the E-Raw series, and for those of you who don't, first of all, welcome. Second of all, I 100% complete every single game I cover in E-Raw form. That's what the everything in the title stands for. 2, if there's one thing I've learned from completing this series, it's that Pikmin is designed to be completed. The best endings are often hidden behind completing the whole game, so you'll be missing out if you don't go for everything. 3, even if you do a casual run, the story is still way too long. The Louie debacle tacks on an extra 10 to 15 hours on its own, and it reeks of padding and made me extremely burnt out by the end of it. I know that's how you access the final boss and all, but you really couldn't have had Olimar run off to the final boss after the 4th Dandori battle. That would have been way simpler. And if you really want to include Louie because he's such a fan favorite, then at the very least scrap the Giant's Hearth. Nothing noteworthy happens there other than saving Don Bergman and York, who are nothing characters that do and add nothing. This is why we seriously need to stop judging a game's price tag by the amount of content it has, because too much content is a bad thing. Did we really learn nothing from Crash Bandicoot 4? And while on the subject of York, Nell, and Don Bergman, I'm sure you noticed by now that these 3 are meant to be callbacks to Alf, Brittany, and Charlie, the protagonists of Pikmin 3. However, it's to such a shameless degree that not only do they make me miss Alf, Brittany, and Charlie, but it also makes these 3 completely hollow. I mean, they're from Kopai, and their body types and color schemes are exactly the same. Plus, like I said, York and Don Bergman have nothing to them, and Nell doesn't feel her much better. Outside of her being a veterinarian, the only special thing about her is she wants Louie's say since he kind of took care of her. Okay, like, if you're gonna slap the skins of Alf, Brittany, and Charlie onto completely hollow characters, just bring back Alf, Brittany, and Charlie at that point. Yeah, they need a vet and Brittany is a botanist, but judging from his notes in the Picklepedia, Alf might have some insight, who knows? Moving away from that, it's time to discuss the final cave of the game, the Cavern for a King. It's a 20-story gauntlet filled with every major boss-type enemy you fought, from Bulborbs to a Sovereign Bulblax. There's even a Smoky Prog down here. This is the kind of challenge I like from a final cave. It's not too hard if you know what to do, but still tests you enough to take it seriously. It's also generous enough to give you some nectar and red spray when you need it. Solid final cave with nothing bad. And at the end, Louie decides he's done with your shit and attacks you with the final boss, the Ancient Sirehound.
That's a messed up looking dog.
This final boss has 5 phases, and you need to be on your A game for all of them. In phase 1, it behaves like Oatchi in its attacks. In phase 2, it uses ice attacks. In phase 3, it becomes electrified. In phase 4, it uses fire. And in phase 5, it straight up flies and acts like a Smoky Prog. To beat it, you gotta wait until its tail drops, throw some Pikmin onto it, causing it to chase its tail and make it fall over, go to town on it while you can, rinse and repeat. Hope you got a lot of red spray on hand, cause you're gonna need it. What's more, the music for this fight is the most unique track in the whole Pikmin series. Instead of using traditional orchestral scores for the final boss, they used heavy metal. I thought it was playing Pikmin 4, not a WWE match. The last thing I want to talk about is my biggest problem with Pikmin 4 as a whole. This is something I was grappling with throughout my whole playthrough and never received an explanation for. And that is, where the hell does this take place in the timeline? Ever since the trailers, people have been speculating whether Pikmin 4 will follow up on the bad ending of Pikmin 1 or continue on from Pikmin 3. And the weirdest thing is, it kinda does both? On the one hand, we have Olimar's Tale being a recreation of the events of Pikmin 1, and in it, Olimar has the SS Dolphin despite not only losing it in Pikmin 2, but also getting a new one in Hey Pikmin, and also acts like he's never seen Pikmin before, in both the tale and in the opening monologue. Furthermore, the voyage log details Olimar having a dream about Hecate Freight getting into a massive debt, implying that Pikmin 2 didn't happen yet. On the opposite hand, we have several logs in the Piklopedia referencing the sales pitches from Pikmin 2, and Olimar's other adventures on PNF 404. And the recreated events of Pikmin 1 take place in Pikmin 4's areas, rather than Pikmin 1's. Plus, Olimar speaks of Louie as if they've had a history working together, and Louie clearly knows who Olimar is despite not remembering his face because he's so lazy. So which is it? Is Pikmin 4 a sequel to 3? Is it after the bad ending of 1? Is it a reboot that starts anew? Then why is it called Pikmin 4? What is the answer, damn it? I had a bit of a wild ride with Pikmin 4. At first, I was very off-put about several of the design decisions in the game. Not just the ones listed from Pikmin 2, but also the ones Pikmin 4 made on its own. Then over time, while I still didn't like the decisions based on Pikmin 2, I did appreciate the new stuff Pikmin 4 had to offer more and more. And then I grew tired of the game after doing so much busy work completing it. It seems to me that a lot of people are enjoying Pikmin 4, and while I'm happy that they are since it means more Pikmin games, I also can't help but feel like a lot of those people are either mega fans of Pikmin 2, or are longtime fans that are still in their honeymoon phase after waiting so long for a new Pikmin game. Okay, a new traditional Pikmin game, but that's besides the point. The point is, do I think Pikmin 4 is good? Absolutely. Do I think it's worth $60? If you're a fan of the series, sure. But it does suffer from the same design as Pikmin 2, where for every good thing there are a few bad things along with it. Thankfully this time the good outweighs the bad far more, but the bad still sticks out like a sore thumb. Maybe I'll give it another playthrough sometime in the future, but after the long completion journey I went on, I think I'm good for a while. And with that, our Pikmin retrospective has come to an end. Playing through these games has been quite an experience, and I see a lot to love and hate about it. Overall, this little series deserves more love than it's gotten, and thanks to almost all the games getting ported to Switch, and Pikmin 4 selling pretty well for its series, I think that's finally happening. I wouldn't call myself a mega fan of the series or anything, but I'll definitely keep my eye out for future games. To end this video, I'll leave you with my ranking of every current Pikmin game. If you've been following these videos since Pikmin 1, you probably already have an idea of how my ranking would go, but for those who haven't, here you go. At the top is Pikmin 3. Hands down, the best Pikmin game. Not perfect, but I had a lot of fun with it all the way until the end. After that is Pikmin 1. A bit rough around the edges and very short, but still manages to provide a fun experience with minimal flaws. Smack in the middle is Pikmin 4. A good game and nice return for the series, but that length coupled with certain choices makes me less enthused to replay it. Up next is Hey Pikmin. It's definitely different and has its own problems, but that just shouldn't deter you from giving it a chance. Plus, I would rather replay this than Pikmin 2. Speaking of which, at the bottom is Pikmin 2. Without a doubt, the worst Pikmin game. I originally said that I enjoyed my time overall, but the more I've thought about it, the more it's devolved from a game I love and hate to a game I just don't like. Please don't make me play it again. There you go. That's my official ranking until Pikmin 5 is made. Will I also make an E-Raw of that if it happens? Probably, but until then, I'll keep making more videos for you all to enjoy. See you next time, everybody! Woo! Another video done and dusted.
About time. We were really behind schedule with that one.
That implies we have any sort of schedule. Between his part-time job and this, we take all the time we can get.
I just wish I could do a little more than just be the cameraman.
Oh no, don't worry. You're doing just fine just where you're at.
Well, at any rate, you've made quite a few videos over the course of 2 years. How many have you made by now?
I can answer that. If we take into account all the videos you made over the past year, plus the shorts, and completely disregard that one video you deleted, honestly don't know what we were thinking when we made that, this video, along with all the others, makes 99 videos.
99? So the next video I make will be the 100th?
Yes, that is how numbers work.
Then I guess it's finally time.
Oh, that time.
Time for what?
Yeah, what are you guys talking about?
Y'all better take a seat. We're going on an adventure. Except you. Keep the camera rolling. Y'all ready?
As ready as we'll ever be.